was scheduled to get a commission in the U.S. Army because of the training I had received. And they said I wasn't old enough. I was all of 19 years old. And I just rebounded and said, I'm not going to stand around idly. It was now like beginning of 42. And at that point, I decided to join the Marines. The first experience in the Marines was doing boot camp, which was 12 weeks of very intensive training down in Paris Island during a very hot season there. I can honestly tell you I was the only Jewish chap there. And the Marine Corps has a reputation, at that time, had a reputation of being full of Southerners. And I can honestly tell you, Southern chaps my age at the time didn't know what a Jew was. I might, as an aside, say I don't think a lot of towns in the South today know what a Jew is. And probably some of you have seen the movie Paper Eclipse. If you haven't, I hope that sometimes they show you that movie at this school. I think the students in the upper grades will get a good feeling for it. Paris Island was tough, and that's where they make you or break you. You become a Marine or you don't. It's day and night. As a Jew, and having promised that right after my bar mitzvah some 6, 7 years earlier, that I put on my tefillin every day. I want you to know, to the boys here, I put on my tefillin every day since then. I probably, during the wars, I put it on days I shouldn't have. I don't remember never putting on my tefillin. As I said earlier, I made the North Pacific campaign, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the map for World War II. We fought really 2 wars. We fought a world war. It was on the Atlantic, across the Atlantic. We were fighting a land war in Europe, and across the Pacific we were fighting an amphibious war. And then certain areas in the West Pacific, the Far East, there was a land war. So we really had a world war going at the time. And I told you the islands, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. But another interesting story in making the amphibious landing on the island of Saipan and Marianas, we were pinned down for 24 hours, which meant as soon as we got in on land, we could not move because the Japanese had mountain guns that were firing and recoiling right back in the mountain, and we just couldn't spot them. So we were pinned down, and we were getting this, I believe it was 75mm guns that were firing at us. We didn't have enough time to dig in and make a foxhole because pretty much the tide would come in. And what we did do is take our packs, which at that time a combat pack was about 65 pounds, and we put it down in front of us to shield us, or around us, 3 or 4 of us would get together, and we were shielded by that. During the night, we took a shellacking. They just bombed the heck out of us. Our packs were destroyed. I must honestly tell you, 2 men on one side were severely wounded. A man on my right was killed. My pack was shattered. The only thing intact was my tefillin bag with a small book of Tehillim and a siddur. I'll leave it up to you to figure out what this is about. I get emotional at it, that I'm here telling you this story at this time. It was a great experience for me because this first unit I was in was a technical unit, although my military occupational specialty was infantrymen. Because I had had this previous training, I went into a unit of 200 men who were all specialists in different facets of ordnance that was required right up front at all times. My demolitions work was blowing up reefs, trying to get around pillboxes and destroying them. Leave it at that. It's very hard to design this for the troops that are here. Some of the interesting experiences. Oh yes, the unit that I was in was 200 men and 32 different states were represented. And what an education that was. To be with 200 men and having 32 different states. How different we are from one state to another here. No different, I guess, you can say, like from one country to another in other parts of the world. And the beauty of it, we all got along. We were always united. Most united always was in combat. I've never heard anyone gripe, decide not to do, follow an order in combat. I must admit, in rest camp, which was after each operation, we'd get a rest period. We would fight with each other. We would be upset, and of course, thinking of what happened in the last campaign and what chances have we got in the next campaign. An interesting story, after coming back from one of these landings, we assembled in Pearl Harbor, and by that time, there was one other Jewish fellow in my unit, and we seemed to get word that there was a synagogue in Pearl Harbor, and they had services on land, and we were wondering, how can we get ashore? And Bernie Kessler, who was the first Jewish guy to get a football scholarship at Catholic University from Virginia. Bernie was 6'2". He was later heavyweight champ in the Western Pacific. Came up with a brilliant idea. Let's go to confession. And we lined up in a line, and of course, confession aboard ship is the chaplain, Catholic chaplain, is sitting in his little room bunk on his bed. He doesn't have the confession box as we know it. And we get in line, and the two of us together, as it's our turn, his head is down, and this big strappy Irish priest looks up at us. He says, "What are you guys doing here?" "Father, we found out it's Shavuos, and we'd like the pass to go ashore." He jumped up, grabbed the both of us. "I'll take care of that immediately. The rest of